That's it, folks. For game number 12, we saw a repeat of pretty much what we saw all season against some of the best competition in the Big Ten and across the nation. Nebraska played well, looked like the better team much of the game, but it didn't work out in the end. Well, we will analyze the Iowa game, but look forward as well. Greg Peterson's on the line. As always, he makes his show work from Husker Online. Join him on huskeronline.com, but also the video versions right here on YouTube. Just search Husker Online. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I had a nice Thanksgiving weekend. My Friday was highlighted by watching the Nebraska game.
Hey, if that was the highlight, I don't know. Your weekend probably was pretty average there because it's a pretty entertaining game.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm saying it from my perspective, which, I didn't have a dog in the fight just watching a good football game.
Yeah. For Husker fans, unfortunately, it's the same old movie we started with the season, and we unfortunately had to watch the rerun of that movie 12 times or 11 more times and saw the same thing at the end. So, yeah, heartbreaking loss, another game that you had. And, boy, you got a 21-6 lead, you got 21-9 lead going into the fourth quarter, and you're feeling pretty good. I think I heard the other day that the PFI said, going into the fourth quarter, Nebraska had about a 96% chance to win that game, and you were just waiting for something to go wrong, and sure enough, it did. You get a punt block for a touchdown, and all of a sudden you're just looking around and you're saying, "Oh, here we go again," and that's the way it ends up. Uncannily, how it just steamrolls from there. And when you still have the lead and your defense has kept Iowa out of the end zone all day long, frustrated Iowa's offense all day long, and still, it's 21-16, and you haven't given up an offensive touchdown, and you still have the momentum. And no, you don't, because everybody in the stadium was just, I think, had the same thought, but here we go again. And unfortunately, that's how it ended up.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. A number of things come to mind. This is one reason why I'm not a big believer in the FPI. 96%. That's a little heavy. I would be more in the 80 or 85% range, because I got to say, when it went 21-6, I was back and forth on what I expected, because on one hand, I did expect, okay, this is going to still turn out the way it's turned out the entire season, and I was going to find a way to come back and win this game. But on the other hand, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe this is the week. And also, Iowa struggles to score and to move the ball against just about everybody. So I thought 21-6, that's a 15-point lead against a team. You're not exactly playing Ohio State or Alabama offensively.
No, I mean, and that's the thing is, Iowa methodically moves the ball down the field and finds a way not to be able to score a touchdown. And they live off of field goals. And heck, Nebraska had them right where they wanted them, or vice versa. Maybe Iowa had Nebraska right where they wanted them going into that fourth quarter. But yeah, you've got everything going for you. Everything's clicking, and there's that one. Unfortunately, it comes up to special teams. Okay, boom, punt block, touchdown. Okay, you're letting Iowa back in the game now, but you still have a lead. But no, you call for a fair catch on the 6-yard line, put yourself in a hole, and then you give up a safety. Now all of a sudden we're saying, oh my God, we're looking up at the clock and the scoreboard, and we're just like, well, you still have a 3-point lead. Well, no, you don't anymore. Then you're tied, and then boom, the game's over. Fumble, interception, same old thing. It's unbelievable how Nebraska finds different ways to win or to lose. I'm sorry. And it looked a lot like Logan Smothers comes out and plays a heck of a 3 quarters of a game, And deja vu from Noah Vedral doing the same thing a couple of years back when Adrian Martinez wasn't available and caught people by surprise and had a great game for 3 quarters. And then same thing, fumble, interception. And you end up losing the game. There's that uncertainty of a new guy coming in and having a little bit of a different skill set. And you can see the difference with Logan Smothers as, with a track guy speed. Everybody knows Adrian Martinez can run the ball, but the difference is between those two guys is that Logan Smothers has sprinter speed. And you liken him to like a Taylor Martinez more. Comparing Taylor Martinez to maybe like a Tommy Armstrong kind of a thing, because Tommy Armstrong could run as well, but same kind of guy, kind of as Adrian Martinez. So, you had that surprise factor. Iowa didn't have much of an answer for it until all of a sudden, then there's a fumble, and then they moved the ball down the field, and Logan just made a horrible decision to throw a ball, and Iowa ends up with an interception and game over.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Levi Falk on that interception play that was running the route, and it just appeared as though Smothers expected him to keep going.
Yeah, well,
to the post.
That's my bad because I'm remembering that play through my viewfinder of my camera because I was on the ball. And it was a beautiful looking throw until it landed in the Iowa safety.
Yeah, there was nobody close to the ball besides Iowa players.
Yeah. So I have not. I watched the replay. I think I fell asleep at that part of the game, or I didn't even watch that part of the game at that point. So yeah, my bad on that one.
Not your bad. You don't want to have to watch these losses twice. Instead of them losing 9, you've had to watch them lose 18 times, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's rough. That is rough. Yeah, I believe that it's pretty obvious. When you watch it in real time, you're like, where in the world is he throwing this ball? But then it becomes obvious that I think it was Falk. He expected him to run to the post, and he read the coverage differently and stopped, and some others threw it out there. In addition to showing running ability, and he's got an arm, Logan Smothers, he seemed to be, I know he made the 2 crucial mistakes, but other than that, he seemed to be completely comfortable running the offense. He didn't seem rattled. He seemed like he was completely confident.
Well, yeah, we talked about that last week a couple of times. Yeah. He knows this offense. He's been here for a couple of years. He's been running it and is extremely confident running it. And yeah, that was never in question. So yeah, it's just here and there when, I don't put any blame on him at all because they did everything they needed to do, and the special teams is what ultimately cost this game again. And it's just, you look at all these losses, 9 losses by 1 score, 1 possession. It's a record. It's a college football record, and you can point at every 9 of those losses at the special teams for costing you that game one way or another. And that's just something that is mind-boggling to me, that when you still ask Coach Frost if he's going to hire a full-time special teams coordinator, he still doesn't commit to saying that. And it doesn't take a rocket science in my mind to realize that you need a full-time guy there doing that job, because your record right now stinks. And look at all these coaches out there. Look at all these positions open for coaches and stuff right now. And you're lucky right now that you actually still have another year to, right the ship.
So Nebraska goes down 28-21. We appreciate everybody's comments and questions on the Huskers as we take it through the offseason, and a long offseason. At least when you get to a bowl game, it bridges that gap. You get to look forward to a bowl game in December. If obviously you make the trips, but even just for your average Nebraska fan, they get
a lot of them go.
Yeah, but even if you're sitting at home, it's something to look forward to, seeing your team play another game against somebody, a quality opponent in another conference. And I love bowl season, but when you get
Amazing.
knocked out of it, boy, it extends the season, extends the off season another month or so. So
Yeah,
it's pretty brutal.
yeah, and you know, if you've never gone to a bowl game, put that on your bucket list. Go enjoy, 3 or 4 days at the venue, because it really doesn't matter really where it's at. You're gonna have a great time. The team's down there for a week. It's like a vacation for the team, but they still have to put in some work every day. But there's so many events that you get to go to, and competitions between the two teams throughout the week that are really fun to go be able to enjoy. And yeah, it's always been like a reward for a hard season. For working hard for a whole season, you get rewarded for a week-long vacation, basically. And it's just so sad that you go through another senior class here that did not get the opportunity to experience that. And I'm talking through a media perspective or of a fan perspective, but just think about it as a player. And it's such a team bonding whole event. The whole month really is, because most of that month you're not even taking classes because school is out, and you're concentrating on your craft, and you're getting ready to go have fun for a week, and then finish off your season, hopefully with a meaningful victory against a really good opponent.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the last bowl game would have been the Tennessee game in the Music City Bowl.
City Bowl 2016. Yeah. So it's been a long time, and that was that one for me was extra special since I still own a house in Nashville, and I lived in Nashville for 10 years, working out of the national team at Rivals.com. So that was a blast for me. That was still sticks out in my mind as my favorite bowl trip of all time, and a lot of the media members around here agree with that because we had a blast that whole week.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we'll get to some of these questions coming in. Pizzazz, remodeling and renovations. There you go. Is asking about Frost considering hiring Turner Gill. Obviously, Nebraska great. To the offensive coordinator's role or quarterback's coach. Just our thoughts on that.
Turner obviously has experience, doing the job, and he does know the team and the state and Nebraska football very well. And his name's always been mentioned around here as far back as I think he's been in the coaching profession. So you never know. That's definitely something that I'm sure Trev Alberts has in mind, and Scott Frost has in mind about talking to, at least, and gauging interest level there. And the other hot name, the big report today also is Mickey Joseph, also a former Husker and wide receivers coach and recruiting coordinator at LSU, who's had a lot of success there, and grooming a lot of pretty top-notch wide receivers that are playing on Sundays right now. And his name's also been another name that's been thrown around here several times in the past. And at that time, they were coming off a national championship at LSU, and everything were coming up roses down there for them. And so you never know. There's definitely a lot of old Husker ties in the coaching world that Husker fans are always would want to welcome back here with open arms. And it's bottom line is that it's a completely crazy busy time right now for Scott Frost and for Trev Alberts and the whole staff, having to deal with recruiting, with signing day coming up, and with all these changes in the college football landscape and in the coaching world, and all kinds of names out there bouncing around. And With all these other possessions, and Lincoln Riley going to USC and throwing a monkey wrench into everything, and it's just crazy. There's just so many candidates out there. It's just hard to pin down a couple right now, at least from the outside looking in.
So, Big Pete, thank you for the bio on Turner Gill at Buffalo, Liberty, and Kansas. Greg pretty much answered your next question, considering new assistant hires that's going to be coming out here in the next few weeks. Tim Wolf. Here you go, Greg. You are a 3-star recruit. Pick your position. Tim wants you to sell Nebraska.
It's a lot of factors going into that. Like, where are you from? What position do you play? A lot of things going into that. But bottom line is, selling a belief and a passion. And you always know that if you're going to come here and wear the scarlet and cream and have that red N on your helmet, the state's going to love you and back you. The whole Husker Nation is going to back you. And academically, you couldn't make a better choice. You will have the most support across the board than at any other institution in the country as a student athlete. And I mean, the lifestyle of a student athlete here at Nebraska is a pretty darn good lifestyle, especially with the name, image, and likeness rules that are in place. And you can come here and you can make a lot of money as a student athlete here. It's kind of hard to go on and on. You got a beautiful new facility being built here, and the support and the financial support that any institution would love to have. And, it's going to get back on track, and you just got to believe in the process. And that's what Coach Frost preaches. And, there's a lot of guys in that locker room that have bought into this now. And obviously you'll have some attrition here. Every program will. But it's more about playing time these days than it is about culture and fit than it used to be. And, if you're being recruited by Coach Frost or anybody on his staff, obviously they want you to come here and play. And that's a belief in you and a belief that, you can make your dreams come true and play at the next level. And, the whole Husker Nation just said goodbye to a group of seniors on Friday, but there's a lot of them that you're going to be seeing playing on Sundays. And that's a testament to the kind of guys that they recruit here, and which Scott Frost has turned around. And, the hard work and the effort has gone into it. You can see the physical changes, and it's just now it's a time to be able to learn how to win and put a game away. Because all that hard work and all that effort that you put in throughout the week, it hasn't paid off in the win column yet. But you keep on doing the same thing you're doing, it's going to pay off. Obviously, it's going to pay off.
David is asking me to identify the Ohio State quarterback that Nebraska should go after in the transfer portal. Well, the most obvious answer would be Jack Miller, who was a 4-star, top 15 pro-style quarterback out of Arizona. He's the most obvious from the standpoint of getting a chance at Ohio State. He's the last in line. He appears to be behind in the competition. He was apparently, and when I say the least impressive, I mean that the other guys were really good. It wasn't anything to do with him not playing well, but it was pretty obvious after the spring workouts and the spring game that he was last in line there. So that would be the most obvious name to throw out there.
Unfortunate to be, last in line at Ohio State. All you got to do is go transfer somewhere, and you wind up winning the national title and being the first pick in the NFL draft. So when you're a former quarterback that was recruited by Nebraska, we'll put that on top of it too.
Jack Miller.
I'm talking about Joe Burrows.
Joe Burrow. Yeah.
But yeah, same situation there.
Yeah, Ohio State had plenty of wide receivers Saturday. They needed more defensive linemen and linebackers getting the job done.
Yeah.
They just got beat up. Speaking of getting beat up, here's the comment coming in from Jeffrey about Logan taking a ton of hits and that not being sustainable in the Big Ten. Yeah, I can't imagine. It was pretty stunning how much they relied on him Saturday. But hey, he's been on the shelf for so long. You might as well get your money's worth out of him and see if he can take the beating, which he did. But yeah, 24 carries isn't sustainable week after week after week after week.
No, and I, we talked about this. Yeah, Jeffrey probably didn't hear us last week, but yeah, I talked about Logan, about how tough he is. I said he was tough as nails because that's the way he plays. When I saw him play as a senior in high school down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, that's what he did. He carried the ball 20 times and took a beating and kept getting up. And at the Big Ten level, no, that's definitely not sustainable. But you saw that's kind of the way he plays. That's the way he was brought up playing. Nebraska, obviously, we talked about it, that they were going to call a few more, designed runs, a few more than they would if Adrian Martinez would have been running the show. And that's what they did. And, Logan, he bounces right back up. And, you're thinking about taking a hit. He took a heck of a hit when he completed a beautiful throw down the field to Omar Manning, that set him up for their third touchdown, or third touchdown. And he is one tough son of a gun, and that's the way he's come up. And but I kind of compare him to like a Christian McCaffrey type of a guy who takes a heck of a beating every Sunday. And, that's taken a toll on him, as you've seen the last couple of years on CMAC there, that he hasn't been fully healthy for a couple of years.
We've got John chiming in on the NFL draft, wondering who would be most likely the highest NFL draft pick out of this current class.
Well, I'd still got to go off of Samori Toure, has already been a target from last season, and just kind of come back to improve his draft stock status. So I still put Samori up there, especially for what he did throughout the season. But Cam Taylor-Britt's got to be pretty darn high up there on the cornerback list too. I mean, we've seen him play just phenomenal football his whole career. The first time I saw him out there on the field, on the practice field, I said, damn, that's a football player right there. Austin Allen as well has increased his stock so much, as a big 6'9" tight end who rewrote the record books as a tight end at Nebraska this year, surpassing Junior Miller in the stat book. So those three guys, obviously, I think actually, have a chance to be up there in the first couple, 2 or 3 rounds as pretty high picks. And Ben Stilley, another guy that increased his stock quite a bit. His dad shared to me Friday morning on the sideline before the game that he'd just gotten an invite to the Aloha Bowl.
Hula Bowl.
Hula Bowl, there you go, which is being played in Florida this year.
They're going to play it in Florida.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, I assume.
No, I guess they're doing a lot of work to Aloha Stadium there in Honolulu. So I guess they rip the field out and stuff. So yeah, that was kind of a shocker there, because I was asking, has Ben ever been to Hawaii? Probably not. And he's like, and his dad's like, it's not in Hawaii. So yeah, those guys right there, and then moving on, there's a couple of safeties back there in Deontay Williams and Markel Dismuke that I think also have a great shot at being drafted too. So you got 6 guys right there that I just named that I think you're going to see, have their name called there on, probably day 2 or 3 of the draft.
We've got quite a battle waging in the live chat. We've got some Iowa fans who are beating their chest and gloating. And then we've got some other people pointing out scheduling differences, which I think it's fair that Iowa won the Western Division, certainly fair and square, no question about that, by all the rules. Wisconsin did have a difficult run in the Big Ten East, as did Nebraska. Nebraska had to play the 3 best teams in the division: Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State. Wisconsin, if you look at their division record, of course, they beat Iowa head-to-head. They beat Purdue head-to-head. They lost the game against Minnesota. They cost them the title, but they had the best division record, but they also had to take on Penn State and Michigan outside the division. And Iowa, they were able to get past. They did have to take on Penn State at home, but didn't have to face Michigan, Michigan State, or Ohio State. So that's the way that comes out.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Nebraska, they didn't get any favors in scheduling this season. That's for sure. So it's better next year for Husker fans. It gets a lot easier next year.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out here in just a second. While we understand today, I found out just a couple hours before we came on that Spencer Rattler is in the transfer portal from Oklahoma. And I would definitely kick the tires on him myself.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, and also Oklahoma also just lost their 5-star number 1 quarterback recruit in the country, who shockingly is actually from Los Angeles. So yeah,
Malachi Nelson. Yeah,
yeah. I wonder why he just decommitted. But yeah,
they've had 4 guys decommit today.
Yeah, well, there's more to come, I'm sure. But yeah, it's funny. I was going to say that all I've seen for like the last week or 2 out of Husker fans is, I don't want Spencer Rattler. Don't go after him. But I don't know how you could not. Obviously, with his resume coming out of high school and what he did in the All-American game, coming in as a highly recruited kid, and yeah, he had a rough go of his first season, and you know what, Adrian Martinez did too, and
I don't know that he had that rough of a go.
I was kind of shocked that he lost his job, to tell you the truth. I'm just kind of going at it as a point where he got he got replaced. So
yeah, he got replaced.
Yeah,
he played all of last season as a freshman.
Yeah,
and I guarantee that his numbers were.
Yeah.
He threw some costly picks his first few games. They lost 2 games, but I guarantee his numbers last year were pretty exceptional. He threw 28 touchdowns and 7 picks last year, 68% completion percentage.
Not bad at all. Yeah. I don't know why you wouldn't want him on your roster.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I'd go after him.
Oh yeah, I would too. I mean, I loved him coming out of high school. I met him. I covered him down in San Antonio at the All-American game, and yeah, I loved what he was doing there the whole week. So yeah.
All right. Appreciate everybody being here and adjusting your schedules to check in on us on a Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. We will keep you updated on our schedules going forward. You can blame me for the schedule change. We did this because we do a watch party for the college football playoff rankings that come out on Tuesday night, but there's only one more of those before conference championship games, so that's going to be that.
The only one
we will let you know.
It's the only one that counts.
Well, yeah, there's the one that comes out tomorrow. Then the only one that counts is next Sunday.
That's the one I'm talking.
So that'll be. There's only one more Tuesday.
Yeah.
That will tie us up. So we will figure it out after that, whether we go back to our regular time or we shall see. So we will let you know, everyone.
Silence. Awkward.
Was there anything else that came out of this Iowa game that caught your eye?
Oh boy. You know what? Besides the play of Logan Smothers, obviously, defensively they did what you wanted to, and a lot of guys that are coming back played well. Guys like Ty Robinson, I thought had a heck of a ball game, and Caleb Tanner played his butt off, and Quentin Newsom locked down Keegan Johnson. I mean, shut him down. And Keegan's a guy that's going to be playing on Sundays. So, yeah, I really liked what I saw out of that defense. They played their butts off, and I can't wait to see what Coach Shenander does with them in the off season and with some of the additions they're going to make and what they come up with next season. So, yeah, that the grass is definitely green there on the defensive side of the ball, and right now on offense, you got a lot of weapons, and I like to see that Jacques Yant came back in and came back to play and had a pretty good game, and that bodes well for next season as well. So yeah, those are some of the takeaways I had, and Omar Manning came up big, and he's a guy that we've all been waiting to see big things from, and I think that puts him in a mindset for next season that after seeing what Samari Torre did coming in here for 1 year, I think that lights a fire under Omar Manning to become, that guy that Samari was this year for Nebraska.
So how many guys are in the decision-making process of determining whether they're going to come back or opt for the NFL?
Well, obviously Adrian Martinez is that big name that you think of, and across the board. Well, you know what? I can't believe I forgot to mention JoJo Doman when we were talking about NFL draft guys. I completely left JoJo out of there. I think JoJo is probably, my goodness, I'm backtracking now because I got to put JoJo up there maybe as the first guy drafted off of this team. Yeah, so that kind of changed everything. So that puts 7 guys there now that we're talking about here that could be drafted in this year's draft. So, and JoJo leaves a big hole, heart and soul of the team. So, off the top of my head, after Adrian Martinez, you're not really, because Austin Allen's already said that he's moving on to the NFL, and I'm coming up kind of blank on anybody else that walked on Friday. That'd be about it.
Did you were you in a position to scout and cover Dylan Gabriel when he was in high school, the UCF quarterback? Because he is announced for the transfer portal, and we see the comment coming in from Zeus. He had a pretty successful 2.5 years there.
No, I haven't seen him. I'm not really familiar with him. But obviously, I'm sure that, Coach Frost is if he's coming from UCF. So
yeah, so
no, I don't have much on him. Mm-mm.
He should have been in the 2019 class.
Yeah, I'm not even sure where he's from. So
yeah, he's a lefty. He can run around. He's a good player, but he is announced for the transfer portal as well.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious about that because he was again had 2 big seasons at UCF. This season he got hurt after 3 games. I don't know who they replaced him with, and maybe he took off, whomever he was, in regards to played really well, and he's not been able to get his job back, possibly.
Yeah, no, he and I'm looking on here now that actually he just Nebraska started following him on Twitter this week for what that's worth. So yeah, that is a name to keep your eye on, definitely.
How were you able to figure that out so fast?
My boss put that in his column today, this
Oh,
morning,
okay.
on his 3-2-1 column. So yeah, Sean Callahan had that today.
You have any thoughts about the Big Ten championship game? Iowa, a pretty substantial underdog against Michigan at 10.5 points.
Yeah, I gotta like Michigan for for what they just did Saturday against Ohio State. They looked great. They really did.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know Iowa's problems about trying to score the football. So I like that line a lot right there personally. So I think that's about the way it's going to go. Yeah.
All right, everyone. We talk Nebraska football each and every week. Greg makes this thing happen, so we hope you appreciate him showing up each and every week to talk Nebraska football. We've done this for 45 consecutive weeks. You can join Greg on HuskerOnline.com, but for all the video that you want to catch, check them out right here on YouTube, Husker Online. Just type it into the search panel, Husker Online right here on YouTube. And what do you have available there right now?
Actually, I just today put up some nice senior day stuff. So, if you're a Husker fan from, across the country or across the world that we'd have viewers from, check that out. There's a good 13 minutes of senior day footage, sights and sounds of senior day, and the whole introductions of all the seniors as well. That's up there as well, and our Sunday quarterback recap is up there, and just kind of check out, kind of wrapping up the season right now, and working on a lot of recruiting video right now with a lot of guys that have offers out there, and putting together those that we'll start running here, and yeah, kind of going from there, and seeing what we get coming down the pipe here as far as news. So we're always working on that.
I'd like to thank everybody out there that has subscribed to our Iowa channel. We made a big push here the last few days. We got about 400 subs in just since like Friday. Watch yourself there. Is everything good? Did you save it? All right.
Almost.
We got in about 400 subs since Thursday or Friday to top 1,000. So we got pushed over 1,000. Thank you, everyone, for getting us to that milestone on the Iowa channel. So our next focus is going to be the USC channel. And rumor has it that USC is bringing in a new coach. That's what I hear. So you might want to head on over there. And we have gone crazy on that whole deal. So check that out. And that's on our USC channel. So that's if you love and support and contribute here at the Voice of College Football in any particular way, go on to the USC channel and help us build that one out as well. All right. Did you say you didn't save everything?
Well, I spilled a little bit, and I have a cover on my keypad, so I'm good. I'm just sopping up a little bit of coffee here. It wasn't hot either. Good thing. All right, we're back.
All right. I have no idea where this is coming from, but Christopher Foote. What about Zach Taylor? Zach Taylor for
you know what? The way he's got the Bengals going right now, what why would he consider that?
It's at least a try there.
He's got the Bengals in second place in the AFC right
now. Yeah, they put up 41 on the Steelers yesterday.
Yeah, so in a different world, maybe. Yeah, you would love to do that, but maybe you think about that down the line when Coach Frost hangs it up.
You got Cody is asking about bringing in an OC that's familiar with the Big Ten, understands the culture, the style of play. I don't necessarily know it's that important, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I like a couple of comments ago, Aiden had up there, Tom Herman. From my standpoint, as a recruiting guy, I would love to see Tom Herman come in as OC, and then you bring in Mickey Joseph as recruiting coordinator and wide receiver coach, where you could have a guy that can recruit the state of Texas like nobody else can, and then you got Mickey Joseph, a guy that played here and has been recruiting down south out of Baton Rouge and knows the South and all the ins and outs of recruiting, just like current Nebraska tight ends coach Sean Beckton knows. He owns the state of Georgia and is big in Florida, where now you could add Mickey Joseph, who obviously is big in Louisiana, but he recruits the whole South. So those are my two guys that I would want. Just from a recruiting standpoint, I think that would be amazing.
Samuel is asking whether Daniels will come back. He was featured on Senior Day like he's gone.
Yeah, that's a guy, I don't think I really see him coming back. And he was a captain this year too, and that's great, but he's been here an awful long time. His brother was here for a year, and he hasn't said one way or the other, but it doesn't seem like he's going to come back. I would love to have him back because he played a big role this year at stopping that, stuff in that middle of the defense right there. Really helped that run defense big time for the Black Shirts.
Yeah. If he is done in Nebraska, let's see, 14-21, 32 games played in his career, 83 tackles, 8 tackles for loss. But he plays a position where the stats don't really tell the story as a run stuffer.
And he put the dues in. Okay, he did not get a lot of playing time here his first 3 years because he was heavy. He wasn't conditioned to be able to put in the time. So he would only play in limited streaks where, he'd go in for 2 or 3 plays at a time. He really worked and reshaped his body over the offseason, and he came in just determined to be able to have the stamina to be able to hold up. And that's ultimately why he became a captain, because his teammates noticed the hard work and effort that he put in, to change his body like that. And I think that he's been here so long, and he saw how it could pay off and everything. And I think in his mind that he's ready to go try the NFL. So, he's easily going to be a guy that would be a undrafted free agent signee type guy. But who knows if he gets an invite to the combine, maybe he does end up being a draftable guy.
Our guy Cody is looking at the transfer portal thinking that the order of priority is offensive line, kicker, running back.
I got to go quarterback first on that list. You got to bring in a transfer quarterback, a guy that's played, a guy that has experience at a Power 5 level. Offensive line, to me, they've got a lot of young guys that are really starting to prove themselves. Kicker is definitely a position where they must address. It's not out of the question that they pick up a high school kid, that they actually offer a kicker out of high school this year. That's a possibility. But yeah, obviously you look at that transfer portal for that position. And running back, I do think you do want to go look for somebody else that has had a little bit of experience playing. Because you brought in Marquise Stepp last season, and he showed a few flashes, but quite frankly didn't get a lot of playing time. So it's kind of hard to think right now what you're going to do in the transfer portal when you still have 3-4 weeks until signing day, and you kind of get that out of the way and see how many positions that you're looking at to fill. So, but yeah, you're always looking offensive line. Obviously, you're always wanting to bolster that position. So I don't want to cut that completely out of there. And I would also go on the other side of the ball and maybe look at some other defensive tackle type guys. I think Nebraska has a lot of defensive end bodies, not a lot of big defensive tackle type bodies, with the loss of Damian Daniels. So, I look at both of those sides, in the trenches right there as maybe targets in the transfer portal.
I got to think that this transfer portal has certainly given these coaching staffs a lot more to think about when it comes to roster configuration. For as complicated as that was before in trying to juggle scholarships with available roster spots, now they have to deal with their transfer portal, not knowing who's going to contact them tomorrow and say, I put myself in the transfer portal, or however that communication's made, and they know that they're going to be without another offensive lineman.
There's that's a full-time job now, as your transfer portal tracker. And you report to the coaching staff on a daily basis or on an hourly basis, basically. So it's like free agency, basically, and it's crazy. Really, especially when you got all these guys that are available that have an extra year to play around with as well. So they can always go look where, hey, the grass is greener here. I'm going to go play for these guys for a year because they're probably going to be in the college football playoff. So it's bizarre. It's really, really bizarre.
And another reason why it made sense for the NCAA to allow those 7 extra roster spots or scholarship spots on each roster, because you could have a situation where you lose 3 guys in the transfer portal next week. You didn't foresee that, and you've got to balance that out with bringing other guys in. It's a constant balancing act of the roster. And not just the total numbers, but you need enough players at each position.
Yeah, and that's why it's funny when you hear right now with names of coaches that are in a head coaching position in the NFL getting mentioned for a college job. Why would you want to do that if you're already entrenched in the NFL when you have to come back here into the college ranks and recruit year-round and deal now with this transfer portal nightmare that wasn't around a couple of years ago, quite frankly, not in the way it is now. But it's going to age you like you're the president of the United States, pretty much. I think you're going to notice that kind of aging in a couple of years on a guy if they're going to do that.
For sure. I know it's become part of my regular process in the off season, especially to check out the commits. I go to the commitment list every day just to see if there's been any other players across the country that have committed to anywhere. And then the other list is the transfer portal list.
It's like the holdback guy. That's a job, the holdback guy, and then there's a transfer portal guy. So, there's lots of jobs available in college football these days.
From what I hear, there's apparently a lot of jobs available across the country, period. Big Pete. Yeah, I was just talking to a Kentucky guy the other day. Wandel Robinson just finished up a pretty historic season there at Kentucky, 90 catches and 1,000 yards.
Not surprised here. I mean, that's the kind of guy Wandel is, and that's why he left Nebraska, because he can put those kind of numbers up instead of getting the snot knocked out of him trying to run the ball up the middle.
I believe he led the SEC in receiving.
He might have. I mean, that's pretty great year for a receiver. And I mean, you know what? You hate to speculate on what could have been, but the running back room here at Nebraska was a lot different this year than it was last year when Wandale was still on the team. And I suspect that Wandale would not have had to play hardly any running back, if any, this season. And just think if he could have done that, teamed up with Samori Torre and Omar Manning and Xavier Betts all season. That could have been pretty special too.
94 catches to be exact. Wait a minute. That this stat board might be behind by a game. It says 11 games played, unless he missed a game this season, because obviously they played a 12-game season. So he might be over 100 now.
Wow.
If that wasn't updated, second in the SEC in receiving yards and number one in catches.
He's a special football player. Yeah, that's about all you can say about him. He's a special person as well. I mean, the nicest kid that you would ever meet, and one hell of a football player.
Huge season. My goodness. Yeah. That's a lot of catches.
Congrats. I mean, you know what? Did he want to play? Did he want to be on a 3-9 football team? No. They had a great year at Kentucky this year.
Yeah, 9-3.
Yeah.
And they'll get a decent bowl bid out of that. Man, when you mentioned he and Toure playing together, you just never know. With all these one-score games, you have no idea what impact that would have been, possibly.
Yeah.
That might have, who knows? That might have won a game, 2, 3. I don't know. Who knows?
I know. It's crazy to think of what could have been. Yeah.
You got to think it would at least turn the tide in one of those games. He would have made some kind of crazy play or two to make a difference.
Yep.
All right, folks. We appreciate you being here for Nebraska Cornhuskers Live it's been Monday the last few weeks. Blame me. So Greg's been kind enough to adjust for me and everybody else you have as well, because we get a pretty good crowd over on the rankings watch party. So I got to do that and take your calls. So that's a pretty good deal. When Lincoln Riley announced yesterday, Greg, we went live and we had over 1,600 people on live.
I believe it. I mean, that's what drives, any kind of a coaching change or anything like that. It goes crazy.
Really. And this hit me during the conversation, Greg, and you can rack your brain to see if you can come up with an answer. I cannot think of another time when there has been a head coach that left a blue blood and went directly to another blue blood the next season. Because when you think about it,
Lane Kiffin, you could kind of put in there.
Did he go straight from USC to Tennessee, one year to another?
Yeah, Tennessee to USC. Yeah,
Tennessee to USC. Yeah, Tennessee to USC, back-to-back years. That's a good one, because I thought Mark Richt, Georgia, Miami, if you want to consider them blue bloods, we can have an argument all day about that. Of course, Nick Saban and Urban Meyer had time between.
Yeah.
Saban went to the NFL for 2 years between LSU and Alabama. Urban Meyer took a year off between Florida, Ohio State. I just couldn't come up with too many other examples. Brett Bielema, Wisconsin, Arkansas, those aren't at that level. Yeah. Talking Oklahoma, USC.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen.
That's the topper. Yeah, I mean, because that blows. I mean, mine is good. I mean, but yeah, I don't consider Tennessee in that group. But yeah, and funny thing is, we're mentioning USC twice here. So if that doesn't tell you anything, go figure it out on your own there. Because you would ask yourself, I mean, it's like, okay, USC's been floundering lately under several head coaches. Oklahoma, year in, year out, is almost in the college football playoff, and now moving to the SEC. All the money and everything is guaranteed to you now. It couldn't be better to be at Oklahoma, right? Wrong. We're talking USC. We're talking Southern California. You drive to work, you drive past the beach. You're driving to work in Oklahoma, you're driving past cows and fields, right? So no brainer. how hard is it to recruit to USC? And especially you're taking a job when you already got USC's already loaded with talent anyway. We all know that. They just need somebody in there to take the reins and get it all figured out. So yeah, when you do all the X's and O's, I think that's a no brainer any day. Hey, I love going out and visiting LA any chance I get, and I would love to work out there. And you're going to get compensated for it, obviously. So yeah, crazy, but that's the way it is. I mean, and especially we got to drop LSU in there too. I mean, was he or was he not considering LSU? I don't know. Probably not, since he actually volunteered that information, since he had something else working.
Yeah, Oklahoma fans not too happy that he was asked about LSU, and he was accurate in what he said. I will not be the next head coach at LSU.
That one I would not. That's more of a lateral move anyway. I think.
Yeah,
I think you're pretty much you're better off, really. I think at Oklahoma, especially joining the SEC, than you would be at LSU. That's my opinion, but they're pretty close.
Yeah, I think that's a great debate. I don't know. I think you can debate that either side. I think you can also debate Oklahoma, USC, either side. It depends on what you're looking for. But you're definitely a USC guy versus Oklahoma in that debate.
Because like we say a lot, I'm a recruiting guy, and I looked where, I mean, it's not hard to recruit to Oklahoma, no, but it's probably the easiest place to recruit to if you're USC across the board. Maybe you can throw Alabama in there, but that's a football only kind of deal.
Yeah.
You're going to court some kid from Alabama to come to Los Angeles and play. You got a pretty good shot at it. So, as vice versa, I guess you have a shot too. But we're just saying, where would you rather spend 4 years in Tuscaloosa?
Oh, absolutely,
Los Angeles.
And that's why I've always said. Now, USC has obviously been a football power forever, aside from being down here and there, and obviously in the last 10 years. Where UCLA, that's why I've always thrown my hands up and thought, why can't they win in football?
Yeah. Well, they're always going to be USC's little sister. I mean,
sure. But there's a lot of little sisters out there that get it done, like Auburn and Michigan State. They're little sisters in the same state too, but they.
Yeah, I don't know. It is a very strange question to try to think about, because they obviously don't have any problems with basketball. They've got basketball figured out pretty well. But it is kind of a shocker, because you do. I mean, over all my years of covering recruiting. And covering a lot of guys out of the state, out of the city of Los Angeles, quite frankly, all these guys that I've known over the years that have played in the NFL and went to either USC or UCLA. Yeah, I think for the most part, USC is on the top of everybody's list. Every commit or every recruit coming out of Southern California. USC, for some reason, has that stigma to where that's where you want to go to win. UCLA is like, okay, if USC won't take me, okay, I'll go across town to UCLA. Or maybe I'll consider somewhere else. And that's where you see a lot of the drop-off, where USC, they close on their kids. Those kids end up there. A lot of the UCLA kids might go there and then transfer, or it's not for them, and they end up going across the country somewhere else, and they wind up having a good career. So that's kind of the way I've kind of seen those two schools in the recruiting game over the years.
So you correct me if I'm wrong, because this is the other unique aspect to USC, and you kind of hit on it, but to clarify it, Ohio State's owned the Big Ten, Clemson's owned the ACC, Oklahoma's owned the Big 12, but they've got to go. Like, Ohio's a good recruiting state, but Ohio State's got to go. They got to go to California. They got to go to Texas. They got to go to Florida. They can't just sit in Ohio and be one of the best teams in the country. Same thing with Clemson. Great football players in South Carolina, but they're obviously in Georgia and Florida and all over the place getting players. Same thing with Oklahoma, as you just mentioned. even more so, they've got to go to Texas and elsewhere to get players. USC, they can stay right there and almost field the whole team.
Yep.
Right there. I think they're the only one in the entire country that can say that with basically, now Texas A&M, they can stay in Texas and do that, but there's a ton of competition. USC's got, not that they don't have any competition, but local competition. They're the king.
Everybody grows up. If you're a football player, you grow up as a USC fan. That's just the way it is. And also, if I'll throw it in there too, that if you're a high school age kid or younger, the big football camps are all held at USC. There's nothing going on at UCLA for the most part. I mean, there are a few things, but UCLA is just not a destination spot there. Anything nationally that's going to go to LA, they're doing it at USC. So that's another, little bit of a edge that they have over recruiting the local talent. And that's kind of where I kind of go with saying that, kind of the secondhand guys end up at UCLA or elsewhere across the country. So yeah, it is a unique dynamic there. And I think when you actually see USC being really, really good, it's when they actually have a mix, when they do have some top-notch guys from across the country, which they never have. They never have a problem signing, 4 or 5-star guys from Florida or from Texas or anywhere. Just take your pick. They will never have that problem. So yeah.
Yeah, that they certainly want to expand and not just lock down, but be a national program. But it was just my point that they could practically stay right there.
And also to my point as well is that you don't see a lot of, every year we deal with about 25, 30, 35, maybe tops, 5 stars in the country. How often do you see any of those 5 stars have UCLA up there on their top 5 list? It's not very often.
And Lincoln Riley's not going to have to mess with the SEC because the SEC is going to be awfully crowded now. It already is, but Oklahoma and Texas, whereas that Pac-12 is ripe for the taking.
It is. I mean, it's been wide open for the longest time. Since USC was a dominant program, the Pac-12 has been wide open.
Yep. Oregon for a few years with Chip Kelly. Mm-hmm. All right. Good stuff. We got Greg here every week, so we hope you appreciate it, folks. Husker Online, check it out right here in terms of the video production right here on YouTube. All right, man. It's always a good time. Appreciate you being here. We'll do it again next week.
Oh, boy. Yeah, got a lot of names bouncing there that don't make much sense there, don't we?
What do we have here? Okay. All right, folks. We will see you back here next week. Hit that bell for notifications to know when we go live. And tomorrow is a big day at the Voice of College Football with Miami and Iowa live shows and also our watch party for the playoff rankings. All right, Greg, you have a good week.
I will. You do the same. It's like a weight's been